You're watching Shalom TV, celebrating Jewish culture. Funding for Shalom TV has been provided by the following. And by viewers like you.
Jewish Education in Media is pleased to present L'Chaim, a program that highlights the people, issues, and events of importance to the Jewish community. Now here is your host, Rabbi Mark Golub.
Today, young and creative Jews are involved in some wonderfully innovative, exciting projects. And one example has to do with making Jewish prayer more attractive to today's generation. And so I'm very pleased to be joined today by two individuals who are helping to revive classical Jewish prayer by creating a funky modern twist to their vocal beatbox called Bagels Box. Please meet John Murstein and Jay Stone.
Le dor vador, le dor vador, le dor vador, nagid gad lecha. Le dor vador, le dor vador, le dor vador, nagid gad lecha.
Let me tell you a little bit about John Murstein and Jay Stone and Bagels Box. John Murstein has a strong Jewish background and actually served as a cantor at the young age of 14. When he's not engaged in synagogue services, John works the world of finance. But since the age of 8, his real passion has been Jewish music and Jewish prayer. Jay Stone is also brings a strong musical background to Bagels Box, and in fact, Jay earned nationwide recognition when he became a finalist on American Idol. Discovering his love for beatboxing some 10 years ago, Jay has since performed with many other young Jewish artists all around the world. An alumnus of Birthright Israel, Jay was selected as one of 10 international ambassadors on Birthright Israel's Decade Alumni Trip, where he performed his Shema Yisrael beatbox for a crowd of more than 10,000 people, which included Israeli President Shimon Peres. And Jay recently completed his MBA at NYU Stern in his other field of passion, the environment. And John Murstein and Jay Stone, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. Pleasure.
Thanks for having us.
This is a real kick from me. By the way, John, how old are you?
28.
Jay, how old are you?
Also 28.
Okay. I am sure you get this question all the time. How do the two of you meet?
We actually played youth basketball together. Jay had the unfortunate assignment of playing on the same team as I did. I may have been in the 300-kid league the worst player. He played with me the year I scored, I think, 4 aggregate points in 11 games.
How old were you?
I was 9, and we had a great time together. But we didn't really know each other, even though we grew up in the same community, because Jay went to a religious day school growing up. I went to the local public middle school, and then finally, freshman year of high school, we became friends in Mr. Schilling's 9th grade Earth Space Science class. Thank you, Mr. Schilling, for your influence on Bagels Box here.
Where was this?
This was actually in Boca Raton, Florida.
So you both grew up in Florida?
We did.
I see. You're a day school boy?
I did go to Donna Klein Jewish Academy from preschool all the way up through 8th grade.
How was it?
Fantastic. Created a really unique, very visceral connection to my Jewish heritage and culture, and I think it was, during some of the most formative years of my life, so created who I am today.
Jay, what kind of home do you grow up in, Jewishly?
I would say if it's the denomination, Reform, always embrace the culture, the heritage, the food, certainly. We went to synagogue on the high holidays. I was actually bar mitzvahed in Israel, so always with a very close and tight connection.
That's lovely.
To Judaism.
And John, what kind of Jewish home do you grow up in?
I was raised conservative. My parents were raised Orthodox, and then brought me up in a kosher, conservative home. We always went to conservative synagogues, and I used to have Shabbat dinner probably at every other weekend, and just grew up having a profound respect for the religion, and not only the cultural aspect, but there was always a real emphasis on attending services, learning the prayers, and becoming the best Jew I could be.
That's lovely. Why every other weekend?
I think it became a little burdensome for my mom to make the 8-pound turkey every weekend, so sorry, Mom, to call you out there. No, I don't know. I just didn't want to lie and say we did it every weekend because I don't remember it being every weekend. Trying to be honest here, Mark.
Do you have siblings?
I do. I have both a younger brother and a younger sister. My brother actually is spending the year studying Chumash and Talmud in a yeshiva in a section of Jerusalem called Baka. He studies at the Pardes Institute for Jewish Studies, and does some pretty intense stuff. He can spend 2 hours studying one line in the Torah.
As you recall your Shabbat dinners in your home, do you have warm memories?
For the most part, yes. We used to do a really lavish birkat hamazon after the meal. That was probably my great memory, which I guess doesn't say much for my mom's food, but my mom's food was great, by the way. But we always look forward to the grace after the meals, just because we loved singing together, and that's part of what sparked my interest in doing what I do now with Jay.
I'm interested in the extent to which your Jewish home in some way influenced your own your respective loves of the Jewish tradition, that part of your life now is engaged in not simply Jewish music, but Jewish music that has to do with prayer.
I can certainly speak for myself. Going to a Jewish day school, prayer time was one of my favorite parts of the day. The only problem I had with it is that, to me, these songs were so lively and they all had such great beats and rhythms and upbeat tempos, but they, almost made it seem like a bit more of a chore than a joy to sing it, where we had to go every morning and start it out. And so when I think we conceived this idea, it was this concept of taking these prayers that have been around for thousands of years, but never had the concept of mixing them in with what I do of beatboxing. And I think that's really where this love came from, is, John and I have a mutual love for Jewish prayer and all of the songs of our people and our heritage. We wanted to present a way that could really engage kids in a new, somewhat, revolutionary method. In
general, the greatest determinant, Mark, in a kid's Jewish upbringing is his parents' respect for the religion. And that was certainly true. I obviously idolized my parents, and, I loved watching my dad read Torah every year on Rosh Hashanah. He used to do the whole thing, and I said, one day that's going to be me. And so my parents are the single greatest influence in my Jewish upbringing. But secondarily, and he needs to be mentioned, we had a fifth generation cantor join my synagogue when I was 8 years old. This is in 1991, and he made coming to synagogue cool. He started a choir. There were like 60 kids in it. Kids used to hate coming to Hebrew school, like Jay said. They couldn't wait for recess, and it was miserable. But he made it enjoyable for kids to come to services, and they loved singing the songs. And so he was really my inspiration. I'd attend services, and this I can honestly say, Mark, every Saturday. And I really enjoyed sitting through them, and eventually developed a proficiency where I took the next step and trained formally under his nephew, who sixth-generation cantor in Ohio, Aaron Schiffman and Yehuda Schiffman, respectively. And that's when my synagogue in Boca Raton asked me to lead the family services, about 350 congregants, in 1997 and 1998.
Do you remember that warmly?
It was one of the best experiences of my entire life. And I think about it a lot, and it was pretty fascinating because at the time, freshman, sophomore year of college, a lot of my friends were like working at McDonald's or some small jobs. What's a high schooler going to do? And here I was leading high holiday services at my synagogue and making, some good money for it. And it was just pretty fantastic.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. When you became the cantor, did it ever occur to you that this would be something you'd want to do professionally?
No, because I always had an interest in finance. and I didn't think the two of them mixed. It really wasn't until a few years ago. I always had the love for Jewish music, but I didn't contemplate taking it to the next level professionally until Jay and I had this this epiphany, almost about 3 years ago to the day, in fact.
Interesting. I asked John, do you have siblings?
I do.
You have a sister who gave you the chai.
A younger sister.
And is that it?
That's it, correct.
Okay. Does she also have a positive feeling for the Jewish tradition and being Jewish?
100%.
What's her name?
We are Allison. And to John's point earlier, I mean, I would agree that two parents have the duty of raising a Jewish family. And, you know, it's interesting, John was pointing out really the religious connection. For ours, it's always been cultural. It's always been, you know, the importance of family, of the mishpacha, of all gathering around during the holiday time and really sharing that love and warmth through Judaism and through all of our customs. So yeah, I think that it left a profound impact on me, and she is also very close to Judaism, as are my parents.
You understand that there are many adults, my generation, even a little younger, who are very worried about your generation. This is very exciting for them to see the two of you. But I wish you would speak to this for a moment. You know kids your age. You're both in your late 20s. You're very young, and I'm sure you also know kids who are younger and slightly older. To what extent do you feel in general the generation you represent is interested in things Jewish? You know, I don't want to say specifically the synagogue. I don't want to say specifically Judaism. I don't want to specify something any more than to say things Jewish. What's your sense?
I definitely agree with you. I think there was a bit of a growing disconnect as, you know, we had all these technological revolutions, and, you know, all of a sudden it became, you know, less about keeping the Sabbath and connecting with your Jewish friends and more about going on to Facebook and Twitter and all this stuff. And for us, that's exactly why this project means so much to us, because, you know, I would say that Birthright Israel is, in my opinion, the organization that has had the largest effect on trying to reconnect Jews all over the world.
And you went on Birthright Israel.
I went on it February 2007, a little over 5 years ago.
Big impact on you?
Monumental impact.
Changed your life?
Changed my life.
How?
I got back. I was living in San Francisco, California at the time. I got involved with the Bay Area Tribe, which was a local group of young professional Jews, 20s and 30s, that would get together for salsa nights, Shabbat dinners, you know, celebrate the high holidays together. And that was when I would say I experienced a renewed sense of vigor and enthusiasm for Judaism. I started getting, for me, and I think this is very related, but I think there's a difference, I became an Israel advocate. So to me, being a Jew is one thing. I started going to these Israel advocacy seminars at the Brandeis Bardin Institute in LA. I actually put on, I was then on a consulting project in New Orleans, and I got 150 Jews in the New Orleans community to come together to watch Unsettled, which is a documentary on...
we have it on Shalom TV.
Fantastic. So Adam Hutnick, is the director, is actually a good friend of mine.
We've had him on too.
And we had him come, watch the movie, and then we had an open forum discussion, right, ironically enough, 3 weeks after Operation Cast Lead had begun. Wow. So it was a very unique time to talk about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. And to me, that is what was so important about the 5 years since my birthright trip, this renewed sense of connection to Judaism, to young Jews, to trying to bring back this community together. And
you were then asked to be part of an alumni group,
yeah.
Right? So have you, in general, stayed in contact with many of the people you were on the trip with?
100%. I've been to Israel 5 times in the last 5 years.
That's wonderful.
It's been I have such a tremendous amount of love and passion for the country.
John, speak to the same question. When you look at, you know, your peers, to what extent do you have worry for the Jewish future? At what point do you think people whom you know connect with something Jewish?
I think really when people feel that renewed connection is when they have kids and realize that it's their heritage at stake here. Kids, frankly, I'm not going to really mince words. Like in high school, they were not enthused about the religion. They couldn't have been less interested. I mean, going to high holiday services and praying for forgiveness on Yom Kippur was not something you looked forward to. It was a burden. And now, though, as people have kids and are getting serious and trying to raise families, the importance has come back again, and it's really really enjoyable and just encouraging to see. And so, you know, for a time I thought maybe this slide from the prior generation, my parents, to ours, is going to be a perpetual one and lead down this downward spiral. But I don't think that's going to be the case now. It's been very reassuring the past few years especially.
Well, I'm very impressed by the answers both of you gave me. Incidentally, my own argument is that there's no reason for a 14, 15, 16-year-old, even an early 20-year-old, to be terribly concerned with being Jewish, and that your point, when one begins an adult life, which starts when you begin to get married and then when you have children, at that point, there is an instinctive return to Judaism, and I am never concerned. I want to reach out more to the young married Jew than I am worried about the teenage Jew. And don't get me wrong, anything that excites Jews at any age excites me, and I'm thrilled that you're able to somehow tap into younger Jews. But both of your comments really resonate with me, and I think it's a very important insight. I really hope people have just heard what you say, that one should be less concerned with what one does in their teens and early 20s, and have a certain faith that if the seeds have been planted well by the family, which both of you said, they will bear fruit as individuals become more adult. Judaism is for adults. The Jewish home is for kids, but Judaism is for adults, and you can appreciate it much more as you have experiences such as birthright, and two, as you begin a life of your own.
What's ironic about that, though, Mark, is all of our performances have been, for the most part, for the younger generation, and even,
that's what you're doing. That's why it's
even
important.
The kids who are in high school,
yes,
they love our performances. They really get into it. They're enthusiastic.
Why do you think that is?
There's so much
John,
ruach.
why is that?
I think it's because of the basic principle of our music. We are taking centuries-old, naturally somewhat dull songs, and we are jazzing them up the way it has really, I've never seen done before.
So you speak in the language of this generation.
Exactly.
With the same liturgy that has been part of our people for centuries, but with in a context that speaks to young people.
And the reason why it was so important for us, you hit the nail on the head, to maintain the traditional songs, was because that has to be the anchor. You know, it's important to keep the younger generation focused on the basic principles of the religion, the basic prayers, so that they're able to teach their kids, you know, this is how you sing the Lador Vador, this is how you do the Aleinu, this is how you recite the Adon Olam. And by the way, I know 6 or 7 other tunes of Adon Olam, yes, all of which Bagels Box sings. And I think that's a really important focus of our music, is we are trying to be anchored by the centuries-old traditions of our people, but at the same time, the centuries-old traditions of our people are not getting that 14-year-old off the sofa into synagogue.
That's wonderful.
And our music aims to do that.
I also just wanted to point out one other thing. You know, if you look at organizations like Birthright, you look at the life events John alluded to of having children and then having this, I view these as all returns to Judaism, where you have this renaissance, this rebirth in your connection to Judaism. What John and I are striving to do is negate the need for that return. So if we can get kids actively engaged, we've performed for 3-year-olds all the way up to 80-year-olds, if we can connect the lower end of that spectrum, the young kids, to prayer, to make it fun and cool and engaging, we don't have to worry about that return 15 years later, because they're just going to stay consistently connected through it. And that's one of our long-term goals.
What are the names of your mother and father?
Pam and Barry.
Pam and Barry, and your parents?
Margie and Ron.
Okay, all 4 of your parents deserve a lot of credit.
They certainly do.
Yes, they do.
What was it like to be on American Idol?
Oh, it was an experience, Mark. It was certainly fun.
But there's a lot we never see.
Oh, I would say 99%
exactly.
The audience at home doesn't see. It was a phenomenal experience. I went on not really with the goal of trying to become the American Idol. I said to myself, my goal in doing this is to showcase my beatboxing to the world, and if I can get as lucky to have a 3-minute spot on national television that could possibly accelerate my music career in other ways, mission accomplished. And, I took my Come Together beatbox cover from the Beatles, was asked to sing a little bit, got to Hollywood, had a, really fun time with it, and think that I was able to ascertain everything I needed from the experience.
That's really wonderful, Jay. How many weeks were you actually on?
Weeks on the actual show.
Yes.
I did not make it to the top 24, so
I
I made it in the audition rounds. Yes. So that's like the first 7 episodes, and then made it to Hollywood Week, which they air in 2 episodes. I made it through day 1 of Hollywood Week, and then got booted when there were about 80 people left in the contest.
But it was fun.
It was fun. I will say that indentured servitude is not dead. It is alive and thriving, and it's called American Idol. As much as we want to think it ended with the Emancipation Proclamation, it did not. But, I mean, in all honesty,
there's a lot we don't see.
A lot you don't see.
Tell me what box is. Bagel and box. So there are people who are watching who have no clue what we're talking about.
100%. And that's actually, those are our funnest audience to perform for, when they are just, what the heck is going on in front of us? So we were actually, to your question, trying to think of a name to call this thing. And, well, should we tell them? For a little while we were toggling, never really seriously, but as a placeholder we had Jamba Juice. And then we decided for copyright
maybe we
infringement.
could have, some free smoothies
right.
and Orange Berry Blitz at our performances. But then we decided, you know what, it's a little much.
And so here we are. I remember it was right when this idea was conceived, and we were so excited with it, but we really needed a name. It's about 2:30 in the morning. I'm like laying in bed, just staring at the ceiling, trying to think of names. And I call John and I say, Bagels and Box. Obviously a play on words from bagels and locks. And John's reaction, I'll never forget, is done. Done. That's it.
Yes, by the way, it's the perfect name.
Thank you.
Okay. Now what is
the name.
it?
So what it is, we feel that it was the best name that could, in 3 words, describe what we do. You're looking at the bagel. John represents, and we really drive this home. If you go to our website, bagelsandbox.com, you see our image, and we thought a lot about this. We have John,
in fact,
much like he
right
is
now,
in the suit with a tallis yarmulke, holding a sea door open, representing the classical, the traditional, the thousands-year-old Hebrew prayers. Not to say you look old or anything. And then we have me representing kind of this funky, modern, new, innovative, revolutionary style of taking what's been around for thousands of years. So Bagels and Box together, we're reviving classical Hebrew prayer with a funky, modern twist.
But box also is a certain kind of musical presentation, is it not?
Beatbox. Yes,
beatbox.
Absolutely.
What is beatbox?
Beatbox is something that I love, that I discovered a little over a decade ago. It's the art of making music with your mouth.
Give me an example.
So little example would be 4, 3, 2, 1. Just a little brief snippet of beatbox. Thank you.
And it's nice because we fill a natural niche. We're able to do bar bat mitzvahs on a Saturday afternoon when instruments are obviously prohibited by the tradition in halacha, because we do not utilize them. It's just our voices. And I think that's something that has been very important to us this entire time. It's all natural, and there's no artificial production in our music.
So we've done synagogues and bar mitzvahs, and Jewish day schools, of course.
And within synagogues, the formats have been different. A service context, Hebrew school will show up and sing for their kids for an hour and a half. The parents show up and love it.
We played a show this past Friday in Boston at B'nai Torah in Sudbury, Mass, and we had multiple people come up to us after the show and say, there was never more energy in this room than you guys brought to it in the last 2 hours. I've never seen the kids get so engaged. It was after our first show at Anshe Chesed in the Upper West Side.
Here in New York.
Almost a year and a half ago, where the education director came up to us after and she said, you don't understand. Getting little Jewish kids excited and engaged in Hebrew prayer is the most difficult challenge we face in Jewish education, and you guys made it fun. There
were kids asking for our autographs after the service, and we said, unfortunately, it's Shabbat, so we can't
we can't sign.
But,
right.
It was really special. And that experience has been pretty common for us, and we've just been met generally with resounding appreciation and words of encouragement for us to continue what we've been doing.
How many hours do you think you do this a week? Because the reality is you have a profession in the world of finance. You're involved very much in the environment. And that's what you do. And then at times you give of yourself to the Jewish world through this extraordinary gift of your music. And you should be praised. And again, I hope your parents are so proud of you.
Oh, they are. They're
and
felling all the time.
They should. And I'm proud to meet you. I have one more question for you.
Of course.
Outside of music, I'm asking you outside of music. If somebody said to you, what's the most wonderful thing about being Jewish for you? John, what is it?
I think it's being part of a natural fraternity of tens of millions of people. I mean, what greater brotherhood is there than being Jewish? I mean, the bond between Jews, a Jew from the middle of Tennessee could walk into Russia, for example, and save for the language barrier, obviously, there would be an instant comfort level. And that is so special. And I don't know of any other group in the world that has the breadth and scope of the Jewish people and that size of a fraternity. It literally is unlike anything else, any other culture on this planet.
That's beautifully said. I want to ask you the same question, Jay. What is it about being Jewish that is most wonderful for you?
You know, I think John hit the nail on the head when he was...
I'll be honest, I took that from him, so I can answer again with my own answer.
For me, I'll never forget a conversation that I had with one of my best friends when I was living out in California. You know, in the early days of our friendship, he said, "So you Jewish, Christian?" I said, "Hey, I'm Jewish," and he goes, "That's awesome, man." And he was non-Jew, and I said, "I don't get that reaction too often. What do you mean by that?" And he goes, I've kind of always been envious of your people, because when two Jews meet who could have been complete strangers, never knew each other from a hole in the wall, when they meet, there's an instant camaraderie, an instant brotherhood. It doesn't matter what walk of life you're from. When you connect with another Jew, there's just a shared history and a shared system of values and beliefs and tikkun olam. We all want to just try to make the world a slightly better place than we left it. And I think that, I mean, I don't know if that's because we're such a small portion of the planet, but I wouldn't trade that for anything. And to me, that's what's most important about being Jewish.
Well, I say to you again, kol tuv v'hatzlacha, all good success. You are both adding to the beauty of this world, and it has been an extraordinary honor.
Absolute pleasure, Mark.
An honor.
And
We're
thank you, Shalom
together.
TV.
We're going to stay together, okay?
Absolutely.
Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Mark.
And that was the vocal beatbox duo of John Murstein and Jay Stone of Bagels Box. I hope you enjoyed meeting them. To learn more about their funky Jewish music, visit their website at bagelsinbox.com. As always, I invite you to be in touch with me with any thoughts or comments you may have. Please email me, write me, post on our Facebook wall, or tweet me. I look forward to hearing from you. And so until the next time, I'm Mark Golub. Be well, my friends. Generation to generation.
And that's what Bagels and Box is all about.
That is what could we have a more appropriate song?
I don't think so.
Not.
Le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, nagid gadlacha. Le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, nagid gadlacha. Ule netzach netzachim, kedushatecha nakish, kedushatecha nakish. V'shivchacha Elokeinu mipinu lo yamush le'olam va'ed. Le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, nagid gadlacha. Le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, nagid gadlacha. Ki hamelech gadol v'kadosh shaka, gadol v'kadosh shaka. Melech gadol v'kadosh shaka, gadol v'kadosh shaka. Le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, nagid gadlacha. Le dorvador, le dorvador, le dorvador, nagid gadlacha.
Double
Thank
Mitsuyan.
you.
Double Mitsuyan.
L'chaim is a presentation of Jewish education in media.
Shut up!